Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, host of the State of the Saints podcast. Coming up on this edition of the State of the Saints podcast, we break down the New Orleans Saints crushing loss to the San Francisco 49ers 26-21 as we put a wrap on week number 2. Keep it locked right here to the State of the Saints podcast because it starts right now.
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
All I got to say is, who that? Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Really do appreciate your time, no matter where you are, wherever you may be, as I try to adjust the camera here. Really do appreciate each and every one of you's time, because Lord knows it's getting a little rough out there when it comes to talking about these New Orleans Saints. But that is why we are here today. Happy Monday to you. As individuals start to file in, I want to give a special shout out to a good friend of mine, Mr. Tremel Tillman, man. Tremel Tillman winning an Emmy last night at the 77th annual Primetime Emmy Awards. He ended up walking away with the Outstanding Supporting Actor Award. So special shout out to my guys, my fellow Jackson State alum, Mr. Tremel Tillman, doing big things out there in Hollywood. But I can tell you who are not doing big things in the Crescent City, and that is the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints fall to 0-2, and now you have 2 road tests where you're traveling across the country. You're traveling to the Pacific Northwest one week, and then you got to travel to Western New York the next week, and you have some really stiff competition coming up. But we'll get into that, I'm pretty sure, throughout the week. Let's go ahead and talk about the game that happened on Sunday. You know, Who That Nation, I got to tell you, in these dark times that we're in when it comes to Saints football, you know, it's best for us to just evaluate talent that is young and promising. Because I can tell you, watching this Saints football game and going back and taking a look at some of the things that I may have missed this morning, my goodness. You know, I said this yesterday, and I'm going to continue to say this. I can understand the New Orleans Saints losing football games because they just don't have the horses in the barn. I can understand that. But what I don't understand is when a team who is very limited shoot themselves in the foot. Now, when I think about that, it just makes me realize that the reason they shoot themselves in the foot so often is because they're not very good. This is not a good football team, ladies and gentlemen. And I just think that a lot of Saints fans, they have developed what I like to call a reputation, right? You know, they have given the New Orleans Saints you know, a lot of high expectations throughout the years. The fact that the New Orleans Saints have been one of the most, you know, legitimate football teams, especially like from, I have to say, about 2017 to about 2020. And probably if you want to go back a little further, when 2010 first started, the Saints were one of the best teams in the league. And I think that some New Orleans Saints fans are still looking at this team like you would when Drew Brees and Sean Payton was on there. But those days are gone. Like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we're going to be real on this show. Those days are gone. the way that a lot of you evaluate the Saints, you're evaluating them as if they have legendary coaches and a legendary quarterback, and they do not. This is a team that is trying to find themselves. This is a team that is trying to create a culture. There's a lot of inexperience on this team. And if you look around, not many guys on this football team know what it's like to win consistently. Like maybe in college, but on a professional level, they do not, right? I mean, you look at guys like Alvin Kamara, Demario Davis, Cam Jordan. You look at those individuals and you'll say, okay, man, you know, those guys remember what it's like when the Saints were rolling, right? Going to the championship, flirting with division titles every single year, right? Double-digit wins. But when you look around, you see a lot of young players that don't really know that much about winning. And I just think that this culture, just needs to be revamped. And, you look at Kellen Moore, I feel like Kellen Moore is the right guy for the job. Like there hasn't been a time over the last couple of weeks I felt that Kellen Moore is not capable of getting the Saints where they need to be. I just think that it's going to take some time because the New Orleans Saints have a lot of players on this football team that, to me, are going to cause them to continue to be down this downward spiral. And it's up to the New Orleans Saints front office to understand that. You have to be able to turn this roster around. You got to be able to flip this roster. There aren't enough dogs on this football team. There isn't enough talent on this football team for them to be able to be in games with competitive football teams. That's just reality. Every football team in the National Football League has talent on the team. You have some teams that have a lot of top tier talent, and then there's a drop off like the New Orleans Saints. And then you have teams that have really good depth where you have the really talented guys at the top, and then you got the players that are up next. There are not enough players up next for the New Orleans Saints. Let me go ahead and start with the positive because I don't want to just start the show with negative thoughts, right? Let's go ahead and talk about the positives. I'm going to continue to stand on business when it comes to Spencer Rattler. I don't know what the hell some of you Saints fans are watching when it comes to Spencer Rattler. I don't know how you are evaluating a quarterback position when you're looking at Spencer Rattler, but I can tell you right now, some of the quarterbacks that you are watching and you are thinking that, oh, these other teams are just getting this star-studded quarterback play. I'm telling you right now, Spencer Rattler is playing some really good football. He's playing some really good football. He's putting together solid performances. And I think that when it comes down to the quarterback position, once again, the past is clouding the judgment of Saints fans present. And what I mean by that is for years, the New Orleans Saints had a quarterback that can make the throw to win the game. He was a marksman. He was extremely accurate. I'm talking about Drew Brees. And now every single quarterback that comes through the Saints organization is going to be compared to Drew Brees. Drew Brees would have made that throw. Drew Brees would have, put that ball up there. And everybody's evaluating it based on what Drew did. But the reality is not many quarterbacks, that includes some of the elite ones in the National Football League, can play at the level of a Drew Brees. And I just feel like that's absolutely unfair to evaluate Spencer Rattler based on that point, because a lot of you are. And a lot of people are evaluating him based on the fact that they just want to see something different. I made a joke, but a part of that joke, it involved some seriousness about it. Everybody just feels that the person that you never seen is always the best to replace the guy that you have on the field. So if you never seen this guy play before, all of a sudden you want to thrust a no-name guy into the lineup just for the simple fact that you never seen him play before. And that's just not the answer. I think that Spencer Rattler played really well over the last couple of weeks. I think he played good enough for the Saints to win these last few games. And I just think that if you are just hate watching Spencer Rattler, hoping that the bottom falls so you can see what Tyler Shuck is all about, you're doing yourself a disservice. And I think a lot of Saints fans that criticize Spencer Rattler and have criticized Spencer Rattler over the last couple of weeks, that is the way that they are watching the football game. They want him to throw an interception. They want him to fumble the football, all for the simple fact of them coming into on social media and writing posts about, oh, Spencer Rattler isn't the guy. Like that ain't the type of energy I like to be around. If Spencer Rattler doesn't pan out and he just ends up not being the starting quarterback of the Saints, I would rather him do it by him putting forward his best effort, but it's just not good enough. I don't understand what people are watching. I don't understand what New Orleans Saints fans want. For a guy to be young and inexperienced and be playing the way that he is, he completed 73% of his passes on Sunday, 3 touchdowns, 204 yards, right? I mean, had a QBR, if I'm not mistaken, a quarterback rating of 118. What more do you want? Every single week, it seems like he is getting better under Kellen Moore. He is facilitating the ball. It's not his fault that you got Juwan Johnson dropping passes. Not his fault you got Chris Olave in his head. It's not his fault. And you have to understand that the greatness, once again, of Drew Brees has clouded your judgment, because Drew Brees showed you no matter what you put out there on the field, he is going to find a way to get those guys involved and win football games. That is the true definition of a special, elite, all-time quarterback. He makes everybody better around him. But right now, the New Orleans Saints are facing what many teams face. You have to be able to put together a team to be able to help out your quarterback, whether it be a potent running game, whether it be a hard-nosed defense, whether it be, generating a pass rush to get the ball back, whether it be an opportunistic defense. You put things around a young quarterback in order for him to succeed. The same team that the New Orleans Saints played on Sunday, the 49ers, they did the same exact thing with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, they put him into the lineup. They put special players around him like Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle and Deebo Samuels, guys that can catch the ball and make something special happen. That is what the New Orleans Saints need. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, people just expect for a quarterback to throw for 350 yards. And if he cannot do that every single week, then they just kind of toss him away. And I don't feel like that's fair. There are many ways that you can win a football game. There are quarterbacks that'll go out there and throw for 300 plus yards every single week, and they'll probably win that way. And then you'll probably have a quarterback that can stay ahead of the chains, do the right things, make the right decisions, but all the while have an offensive supporting cast around him in order for him to be able to facilitate the ball to the playmakers. And right now, that is what the New Orleans Saints need to do. I'm telling you, the sooner you realize that Drew Brees is no longer the quarterback, the better. The way that you evaluate the quarterback position is a little bit skewed because you've seen it played at the highest level. Spencer Rattler, based on where he was and where he is today, you can see that he is leaps and bounds better than he was last year. And I'm going to say this too, as we move on to another bright spot. A lot of people are bringing up 0-8 as a starter for Spencer Rattler. And this goes back to what I said on yesterday's episode on the post game. I did not want Spencer Rattler to be the starting quarterback last season because I knew how Saints fans' mind works. I knew how some of these Saints fans' minds work. I already knew, because they cannot differentiate. They cannot differentiate what happened last year to what happened this year. They are holding this guy responsible for an inept coaching staff, a terrible football team that was decimated with injuries. So you're adding on, oh, he hasn't won a game as a starter with that situation. And now you're adding on him actually being, the starting quarterback of a team that is trying to rebuild. So they're adding all of those losses onto him as if they didn't watch the Saints last year and watch them fumble all over all over themselves every single week. But that's what I said. Like, people want to create these narratives and they don't want to put context behind it. This man was throwing to guys that he met the same week when they took on the Green Bay Packers. He didn't even have a full week with the wide receiver core that he was going out there to play with. But nobody wants to talk about that. Why? Because it's easy for us to just say that Spencer Rattler isn't good enough to be the starting quarterback. You're doing yourself a disservice by not looking at the development of Spencer Rattler. And then on top of that, you're not doing yourself a service because we're actually seeing that Kellen Moore has what it takes to try to get the best out of an offense that is limited. So everything that is in front of us right now is telling us that they're making the right decisions. And lastly, this whole thing about Tyler Shuck being a starter, let's go ahead and throw him in. Do y'all understand that Kellen Moore and his coaching staff were responsible for Tyler Shuck being drafted by the New Orleans Saints? So you don't think if they really felt that Tyler Shuck was capable of going out there and giving a better performance than Spencer Rattler, you don't think they will put him in the game? That just doesn't make any sense. But when you're losing, you're always just trying to find ways how you can get yourself out of the hole. But I think that Spencer Rattler has played really well, all things considered. Hasn't turned the ball over, hasn't really made an egregious mistake, and has built on the momentum each and every week. And I don't think people are giving him credit for going up against a really good 49ers defense and was able to throw for 3 touchdowns. I got to give the man credit. He did an outstanding job. Someone else I felt that really stood out to me in this game, I got to give credit to Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara had 21 carries for 99 yards. I think that was what the New Orleans Saints needed to do, getting Alvin involved. In week 1, the running game was effective, and then all of a sudden they got away from it. I feel like that's just rookie coach mistakes by Kellen Moore and his offensive staff, not putting a commitment on the running game. But you're getting Alvin involved. You got him involved in the running game. You got him involved in the passing game. He had 6 receptions in the game, and he shows you that, you know, if you give him the opportunities, if you scheme up something, then he can make something out of nothing. That catch that he tried to make that ended in a fumble, you know, I was just a unfortunate situation where he's trying to hold on to the football and survive the ground, and Fred Warner just does what Fred Warner do, which is make plays defensively. So I'm not upset with that, but I was very impressed at what I seen from Alvin Kamara in the running game. I think the Saints need to put a little bit more commitment to the running game, not only just using Alvin, but also using Kendre Miller. And I didn't see Devin Neal in this game for some apparent reason, but I'm not objective to seeing all 3 guys on the field. Like I don't have any objections to that at all. I thought that they played really well. Looking at the defensive side of football, Carl Granderson had 2 sacks in the game. He has 3.5 sacks on the season. He's looked like he's poised to have a double-digit sack season. And that's what the New Orleans Saints are going to need. They need to be able to get pressure on the quarterbacks. Next week, they have a game versus the Seattle Seahawks, or this week rather, and you're going to have to be able to get pressure on a quarterback. So hopefully you'll see Chase Young back in the lineup. I don't know if you will or not, but if he can come back this week, this will be great, especially for these 2 road trip games that they actually have. Maybe the New Orleans Saints were thinking about that, you know, maybe sitting him down for 2 games so he can be ready to hit the road in Seattle. But, you know, Carl Granderson has done a really good job. And that's who I'm looking at. You know, people are criticizing Cam Jordan and talking about Cam Jordan. Like I don't even evaluate Cam Jordan in that way anymore. If Cam Jordan gives you 5 or 6 sacks on the season, I think that's a plus. Like looking for Cam Jordan to be a double-digit sack guy at the age of 36 years old, you know, I mean, I just think that's just wishful thinking at this point. What you need to do is rely and be looking at some of these younger players that you are counting on, to be those cornerstone players for you over the next 4 to 5 years. And Carl Granderson is one of those guys. So him stepping up and him getting sacks on Mac Jones is a plus. But the defense, when it comes to the secondary, hot garbage. Hot garbage. Smoke like brisket, burnt like a freaking biscuit is back. It's been a minute since I echo those words, but it seems like this is going to be a reoccurring thing. I look at Alontae Taylor. He did some good things in the game, but a feast or famine type nickel corner, getting caught flat-footed, being out of position from time to time. There was a moment where he could have got a tackle for loss. He ends up, I think Christian McCaffrey ended up slipping through him. Yeah, it was not a good showing overall for Alontae Taylor. So I expect more out of Alontae at this stage of his career. He's one of the leaders in the secondary. And if you out there getting beat like a Persian rug, I mean, what can you say to some of these other guys? What also Isaac Yadam, I'm going to go ahead and give him a pass because Isaac Yadam has never really been that good. He's just a guy that the New Orleans Saints have put in that place. He's a solid corner, okay? Solid, I mean by, you can count on him. He'll probably make a play or two. But at the end of the day, if you look around the National Football League, Isaac Yadam would not be a starter on probably about 85, 90% of the teams in the National Football League. He is what he is at this point. I know some people are looking for Quincy Riley. I'm not objective to that. I think that maybe you need to have him a part of the rotation, but I just think it was just a bad day at the office for Isaac Yadam. He went up against a team that understood him, and they picked on him quite often. They shied away from Kool-Aid McKinstry, and they liked the matchup between Isaac Yadam and whoever was out there. The New Orleans Saints just need to get better in the secondary. They'll probably be solid over time, never going to be great because they don't have any great players on this team in the secondary. You got Kool-Aid McKinstry, who's probably better than the rest, but I don't look at him as a lockdown, shutdown corner. Isaac Yadam, he definitely not a lockdown, shutdown corner. And Alontae Taylor, too off and on for me. So they're going to have to figure this thing out, man. They're going to have to figure this thing out in the secondary because they're giving up explosive plays. And when you have a young, inexperienced, quarterback and you have a team that is trying to figure it out, you can't afford for your defense to be slacking. And they also need to be able to generate more turnovers. Credit to Chris Rumph getting the forced fumble on Mac Jones. Credit to him. But they need to be able to get some interceptions. So I don't know how they're going to do that. Maybe they need to outsource. I look at Ernest Sinker. He can probably be that guy for you. Quincy Riley, he's another cornerback that has been a ball hawk when he was at Louisville. So maybe you need to take a look at these guys and have Riley in the rotation. Sinker will be in the rotation or be a starter for the foreseeable future since Julian Blackman has went down. But they need to be able to generate some turnovers and generate some level of excitement, on the defensive side of football, because you're not going to win anything if this defense is giving up big plays and they're not generating turnovers. But let me go ahead and read some of your comments here. Deficient in the secondary, DB's mediocre. That's why San Francisco converted 8 of 12 third downs and won despite McCaffrey never getting going with his running game. Well, Angela, I mean, that and the Saints aren't very good. Look, they're not a good football team, man, and that's just the reality of it. I think that, even though the season started and we kind of accepted what the New Orleans Saints were, I think a lot of us just wanted to be wrong about this football team. But right now, we're just realizing that we were right the entire time about this football team, which is they're not very good. Like they have to learn how to get better as a football team, and these guys have to grow as professionals. And there's going to be a lot of tough decisions that the New Orleans Saints are going to have to make over the next few weeks and even going into the next offseason. And yes, I am talking about the next offseason because I don't see anything changing about the football team. They'll win some games, I'm sure, but I just don't think that they're good enough right now. And right now, they're going to have to figure out how they are going to structure this football team, because I see a lot of guys that are out here that are just getting paid, right? And they're doing their best, but their best just isn't good enough. So the New Orleans Saints have to figure it out. They have to figure out, do they just want to be a team that's extremely competitive and, okay, the fans going to still stay behind them because they fight hard, or are they going to try to make this thing happen and try to be a winning football team again? Because I can tell you this, gold jerseys and gold lines only going to get you so far. Opening up training camp where it was closed to the public last year, open this year, is only going to get you so far. People want to see this team trending in the right direction and winning football games. And it's just that plain and simple. It's an absolute embarrassment that the New Orleans Saints are in this predicament where you have the San Francisco 49ers fans. It sounded like a home game inside of the Superdome. There was a couple third downs where, you basically had Spencer Rattler look like he was on the road. That's embarrassing. And the only people that need to be held responsible are the people that are higher up, individuals like Mickey Loomis and Gail Benson and Dennis Lauscher, some of the higher ups on his football team that has just become complacent and want to just live in this echo chamber and not look at the reality that's right in front of them. Now, they have come to the conclusion that they're in a rebuild, but they come to that conclusion because they had no choice. Like, you could have avoided these type of growing pains very early in the process if you just realized that, man, we need to go ahead and flip this roster. It took the fans basically to rebel against this entire organization in order for them to generate any change. I'm telling you right now, if the Saints fans were laid back, I guarantee you, as the Lord is my witness, Dennis Allen would still be the head coach of the football team, and Derek Carr would still be out there making people's life miserable. And as crazy as this sounds, as much hardship as the New Orleans Saints have been through over the last couple of weeks, I have yet to hear a Saints fan say, man, I wish Derek Carr was on the team. Like, I haven't heard that yet. So the New Orleans Saints basically were forced to face the inevitable, which is a rebuild. But they have no one to blame but themselves. And they have got to stop running this organization like it's a charity event. Like, just because you like a guy, just because he's a good person, just because he might give you a hug, a firm handshake, doesn't mean that he is the best for that particular position. You look at some of these teams that get it right, that get it done, constantly make the playoffs. They understand the business aspect of the National Football League. It's too much buddy-buddy. It's too much we are the world going on for my liking. There's a lot of guys on this team that are just making it for the simple fact that they are good locker room guys. And yes, you need good locker room guys, but you also need some dogs on your football team. And right now, the New Orleans Saints cannot afford to waste one penny on a guy that's not going to go out there and get things done. All right, they need to go ahead and eliminate that. This is an opportunity. Like, this is a showing for guys like Alontae Taylor, showing for guys like Chris Olave. Are they going to be your cornerstone players? And right now, looking at both of those guys, they are not. They are not. You just keeping these guys on the team. They solid football players, but they're not those type of players that you can count on game in, game out to be consistent and on a team that needs consistency on all levels. TJ, remember this topic. Will the real Saints fans please stand up? Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of Saints fans out here are frustrated. I'm not going to say that some of them are. I don't want to say, you know, they not real Saints fans. I just think that people have grown accustomed to a certain culture that the New Orleans Saints have, and they still carry themselves like the Saints still have that culture, and they don't. So when they start about, man, like, what happened this week, man? We sucked. Like, I mean, it's just them coming to grips with what reality is right now. The New Orleans Saints aren't looked at as, you know, one of the teams that free agents want to come to, you know, a team that people look at and be like, man, this is going to be a tough outing this week. Like, they don't look at the Saints like that. You know, it's kind of going back to the days when I was growing up as a kid, when I was growing up in the 90s, and when the Saints go into town and they're like, okay, we're going to get the W this week. That's kind of what they own right now. TJ, the missed tackles are absolutely egregious. Alontae was terrible yesterday in that regard, and he's normally good at tackling. Yeah, he was pretty bad yesterday, man. But, I mean, he's going to have to step it up. Like, that's the one thing about Alontae Taylor. He's just inconsistent. Like, he's good, but he's inconsistent. You know, I mean, that's just the reality of it. I think that, you know, he was emerging as a really solid nickel corner in a Dennis Allen defense. And I think that he's one of the best when it comes to, you know, coming off the blitz. Like, he normally gets home. Like, he tried to do it yesterday to no avail, but, you know, he's a solid guy. Like, you can send him on those blitzes and he's going to get home. You know, he plays like really good coverage in the nickel spot, but he's too inconsistent, man. Sometimes, like, his eyes get caught in the backfield, and the next thing you know, a big splash play just comes his way. He just has to stay locked in. That's the biggest issue with Alontae. I like him. But, you know, at this point, if I'm thinking about, okay, man, I'm trying to turn around this organization, I'm trying to change the culture, is Alontae Taylor like on my list when I'm talking about a culture change? Right now, he is not. Like, can you live without Alontae Taylor being your nickel corner or being in your secondary? Yes, you can. So I'm looking at the fact that are any of these guys undeniably good? Like when you look at guys like Calvin Banks, like you got something there for the future, right? When you look at guys like Kendra, he's starting to flash. Feel like you got something there for the future. I'm just looking around. I'm wondering to myself, like, who's those other players that you're looking at? You feel like, man, that guy's the future of the team. You can throw Shaheed up in there. I mean, he makes plays as well. But it's few and far in between right now. It's almost like you have to squint and kind of convince yourself that a guy is good enough to be a part of this team for the foreseeable future. I bet Olave looks like a number one in practice against the likes of Yadam. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does. I mean, that doesn't, no disrespect, but I'm pretty sure that isn't hard to do in comparison to other cornerbacks in the league. I mean, he's just a solid rotational guy that's playing as a starter right now. The good thing is we have cap space, and let's hope we can continue to build through the draft. Yeah, I mean, if you can put together some solid drafts, if you can put together a draft like you did this past year where you have some guys that's contributing, whether it's on special teams, offense, or defense, then you'll be fine. But they don't need to be wasting their time trying to extend guys that, to me, they're just mediocre and not going to elevate your team in any way offensively or defensively. Like, I'd rather just roll with some young bucks and, maybe in free agency, you can probably bring somebody in that can contribute and make some noise. But right now, not too many guys on this team. If I'm thinking about contract extensions, I'm paying. Starting to think Kellen Moore has a lot of work to do as a head coach as well. We don't really see his vision. He got to start taking credit for these L's. Well, look, I think that a lot of people went into this season looking at Kellen Moore and not really fully evaluating him based on these performances. I mean, I'm just not. Like, this is a tough situation for any coach to come to. And that was the reason why the New Orleans Saints had such a hard time trying to get a head coach to come to New Orleans. Like, we cannot forget, because we're removed from these situations, that they happen. Guys, like, coaches didn't want to come to New Orleans because of the contract situation. Rather, it was the issues that they had with Mickey Loomis being a general manager. This is a guy who came in and made a commitment to the New Orleans Saints. They're allowing him to try to build the team the way that he wants to. But we have to be realistic. This team isn't very good. And this guy can't take, chicken, and turn it to chicken salad. Got to allow him to be able to bring in his players. And if you look around, like, honestly, if you look around at the players that Kellen Moore have been instrumental in bringing in, they have made an impact, right? They drafted Calvin Banks. He's an impactful player. Some of the players like Jonas Sinker, he's showing promise. Quincy Riley on special teams so far, he's showing promise. Danny Stutzman in certain spots, he's showing promise. So it's not like they're not trending in the right direction. And even when it comes to Spencer Rattler, he looks much better this season than he did last season. So you're seeing, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, when the team is losing, it seems like everything is going wrong. It seems like everything is just so bleak. And we don't look at the things that are promising, because the only thing that we're worried about and what we see is the fact that we're losing, and we want the losing to stop. But when you look at Kellen Moore, like, there are some very promising things on his football team that maybe in the next couple of years, the Saints will pay, they'll pay dividends for the New Orleans Saints' success. But right now, you have a guy that's just trying to figure it out. And, you only can do so much when you're limited. And you only can do so much when the New Orleans Saints are trying to get back to the black. And I think that's what the New Orleans Saints are trying to do. That's the reason why I believe they have like $25 million in cap space, but they're not trying to make commitments, because they understand, man, this may not be our year. We probably just have to sit on this cap and just let the chips fall where they may. Saints fans want them to go out here to do everything that they can because they're tired of losing. But the reality goes back to what I said. The Saints put themselves in this situation. And in the words of the great Malcolm X, the chickens are coming home to roost here. I mean, that's just it. Like what you're seeing is, a reflection of bad management, bad cap situations, and a false sense of reality. That's where we're at as a fan base, that's where the Saints are as a staff, organization, and crew. They have made this bed. Now it's time to lay in it, ladies and gentlemen. We don't want to lay in this bed, but that's where the New Orleans Saints are until they figure this cap situation out and until they get players that can come in that can contribute at a high level. You're going to continue to see some of the same things. So I'm just telling everybody, you're going to have to strap in because this is going to be a very, very, very bumpy ride over the next year or two. Do you think it's a mixture of them being bad and also lack of chemistry due to all the rotation at quarterback during the summer? Some plays are there but off. Do I think it's a mixture of them being bad and also a lack of chemistry? No, I feel like the chemistry is there. I just don't think they're good enough. I mean, that's just it. I don't think they're good enough right now. I don't think they have just overall talent on his football team like you see in some of these other teams in the NFL. Like they are a bottom tier football team right now. It is hard to accept. Like it's, one of my favorite shows was Good Times, man, growing up as a kid, right? And there was an episode where JJ, he ran off and he eloped with Debbie Allen, right? And they ended up finding out, Debbie Allen's parents and James in Florida ended up finding out that Debbie Allen was addicted to heroin because she ended up switching a bag with Thelma. JJ ended up taking Thelma's bag instead of Debbie Allen's bag, right? And so they end up getting in touch with JJ, and they were trying to convince JJ that his girl was hooked on drugs or whatever, but he didn't want to accept it, right? He didn't want to accept it. Like, man, you'll do anything to keep us apart. I don't believe you. And, it was just, they didn't want to tell him. It was tough, but they had to let JJ know. And how did JJ find out? He called out to Debbie Allen. He walked to the bathroom and realized that she went out the window. I say that to say that some of y'all have walked into the bathroom and seen the window wide open and the wind blowing the curtain, and you realize that the team may not be what you think they are. I'm sorry, JJ. I'm sorry you had to find out like this, but the New Orleans Saints aren't that good this season. And until they figure some of these things out, like JJ, you're going to be sitting on the bed looking lost. Junior. Please watch that episode. For some of y'all don't know what I'm talking about, please watch the episode. Juwan is proving why he was changed from wide receiver to tight end. Yeah, man, look, I'm that's a whole different story, man. That's a whole different story right there. Juwan Johnson, God bless the brother, but man, he is. I don't understand why the New Orleans Saints made that type of commitment to Juwan Johnson. I just don't. I think it had a lot to do with where the Saints were. I could be wrong. But I think it's really because nobody wanted to come to the Saints in free agency. Let's just keep it a buck, man. You got some of these players out here like Keenan Allen and Gabe Davis and some of these other guys, man, who had opportunity to maybe come to the Saints and fill a role. And it was like, nah, I'm good. So maybe that was one of the reasons why the New Orleans Saints paid Juwan Johnson. It's not the fact that they felt like he was the best person for the job. Maybe it was he was the only person for the job. And you couldn't find anybody that can match that production or maybe exceed that production. So instead of going out here looking embarrassed and ridiculous, you just decided to go ahead and run it back with Juwan Johnson and make that type of commitment to him. But Juwan Johnson ain't it. Like, I know he caught that big time touchdown, and that's what we do. We talk about guys, and then all of a sudden they make a play, and then all of a sudden, man, you were saying? I'm saying the same thing. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care if you catch a pass after I talk about you ain't it. Like, that still don't make you it. That just means that you ain't it and you caught a pass. I'm talking about consistency. I'm talking about somebody that can come through in the clutch and make plays. Now, if he ends up being that guy, then fine. But he isn't it. And that's another issue that I had. After he scored the touchdown, you up there yelling and screaming to the fans, and I guess like chastising them like, oh, y'all was saying something about me. Yeah, we're going to say something about you. Absolutely. And that's the problem. Like, why do you care about what I think? Why do you care about what Saints fans think? Great players don't care about what individuals like myself say. They don't care about what's written about them or what the fans are saying about them. They don't care. They just go out there and they just continue to fight. They continue to be the dogs that they are, and they keep it moving. But you sitting up here worried about what TikTok comments saying and Instagram comments saying about you. That's the biggest issue. Why we care about that? Why do we care about that? But at the end of the day, he ain't it. He ain't it. You can get a bet. Like he is a middle of the road tight end, and the Saints are utilizing him because he's the largest receiver on their team, so they're utilizing him instead of them try to get Devon Vele involved, which seemed like that's a good idea. Seemed like he's a really good red zone threat. Got the first touchdown in the Saints uniform on Sunday, but he ain't it, man. And I don't care how many. I don't care how many contested catches he can try to catch down the stretch. This dude is way too inconsistent, and he's not that good. Like he's not. Like he's the best tight end on the Saints team, but that's not saying much at all. That's not saying much at all. Not a fan. Not a fan of his play. I'm a fan of him as a person. Like I think that he's a very motivational, encouraging individual. But when it comes to the play, I think you can get better than it. And I would be glad to be proven wrong by Juwan Johnson, but right now I feel like I'm right. Well, TJ, I'm about to keep it 100. I'm not about to keep watching and looking at this team. No telling when they're going to be good. I am 36 years old. Hope through the grace of God, whatever they do, be good. Well, Greg, look, man, we can't be like that, man. We can't be like that. I understand that the Saints are going through a little bit of a dry spell, but man, this is the commitment that you make. This is why, I go at fans of other teams like the Falcons and some of these other teams, because they don't really hold it down through the tough times. Like everybody, man, look, everybody want to eat the bread, right? Y'all heard me use the story of the little red hen on this show so many times, right? Nobody wanted to help bake the bread. Nobody wanted to sift the wheat. Nobody wanted to, pound the flour, but everybody wanted to eat this bread, right? Right now, the Saints are going through the process of making this bread. And everybody, is still standing around here. They want bread, but they don't want to help with the process. You help by showing support for this team. Trust and believe. Some of these episodes of the State of the Saints podcast are indeed tough to do. But what keeps me around is the fact that I have loved this team since I was 4 years old. And the Saints weren't always good. Like, the Saints didn't start being good till I was what? How old was I? 20? I was like 20 years old. I was 20 years old when the New Orleans Saints ended up being like a credible football team. I'm 39 years old right now, right? So for about 19 years, the New Orleans Saints have been watchable in my lifetime. So all I'm saying is, yes, they are having a down year. And yes, more than likely, this losing streak will continue. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at the positive things that the New Orleans Saints can build. And when they start to turn this thing around, you'll have an appreciation for the things that they went through in order for them to get back to that point. I believe in this football team. I believe in the coach. I think that Kellen Moore is the right coach for the job. I do not believe that Mickey Loomis is the right GM for the job. But the fact that he is allowing Kellen Moore to be able to build the team the way that he wants to, I trust the process of Kellen Moore and what he is doing, because I'm seeing flashes of the players that he had brought in making plays. They brought in Chris Rump. He had a forced fumble yesterday, right? They drafted Vernon Broughton. He had 3 tackles in the game, right? I mean, you look at these players that they have brought in to contribute on this defense, and, also the ones that, contribute on the offense, which, they brought in Awesome Richards. And when Talesi Fuaga went down, he did a formidable job. So all I'm saying is I believe in what Kellen Moore is trying to do. We just have to be patient enough to be able to see this thing through. We can't say, oh, we wanted a rebuild, and then you finally see what a rebuild looks like, and all of a sudden, like, we want to back away, man. We gotta support this team, man. We gotta support this team. We gotta watch it, and we gotta just hope for the better, and hope that they get better each and every week as they learn how to win as a football team. TJ, I thought about the Sunday night. This Sunday night, I was tripping about not showing up to the NFC South Roundtable. It was a long day on Sunday, and I was worn out. I'll be there Tuesday night. Look, I mean, the game was not exciting. It was boring. It was a field goal fest. But I mean, they got it done. And look, I'm not. Man, where the Atlanta Falcons are right now, they're ahead of where the New Orleans Saints are. And that's a tough pill to swallow. Like, do I think they're going to win the division? No, I do not. But when it comes down to, like, being ahead and having talent on the team and kind of, building, they're a little bit ahead of the New Orleans Saints. But I'm not saying that the New Orleans Saints couldn't beat the Falcons. I mean, we all know, it don't matter. It don't matter who the quarterback is. We have seen this. We seen Taysom Hill put foots in them boys, right? I mean, we seen like mediocre quarterback players. That Andy Dalton beat them boys too. I mean, we know when it comes down to it, man. That's no matter what's going on with the Saints, what's going on with the Falcons. They play that joint like it's the Super Bowl. Like the Saints can have 2 wins on a season. If both of them came from beating the Falcons, I think they'll be satisfied. They'll be disgusted about how the season went, but they'll be like, at least we beat them Falcons. So everybody want to eat, but nobody want to sweat in the kitchen. Been a fan since the heavy lunch bunch. We going to be all right. Yeah, man. I mean, nobody want to see it through, man. That's the thing. We got to, man, we can't just be up here just celebrating during the Benson Boogie when things are good, man. We gotta see this thing through, man. We can't give up, man. We can't quit on the team. Can't do that, man. Can't do that. That's just a commitment that you made. I mean, if you're gonna say that you're a fan of the team, man, you got to be a fan, good, bad, and indifferent. I'm saying who that. I don't care what their record is. I already told you I've been a Saints fan since I was 4 years old. One of the biggest Saints fans that I ever met in my entire life is my grandmother, Miss Maxine Jones, and I'm pretty sure she's watching this right now. I love you, grandmama. She's the main reason why I fell in love with this football team. Why I'm in broadcasting right now, because the Saints were so terrible that all the games were blacked out in the 90s. I used to have to listen to them on the radio. That's the reason why I got into radio. Like this team is so embedded in me. Like I can't. And also it's my connection to a city that I no longer live in. I was born and raised in New Orleans. And it didn't get more New Orleans than hopping on an RTA bus or rooting for the Saints on Sunday. No matter if you thought they was going to win or not. More than likely, you didn't think they was going to win, but you still had the love for the team. And that's why I love this team so much, regardless if they win every game or if they don't. I'm committed to this football team because I've been committed to them my entire life. So I feel like it would be, hypocritical of me to start a show in 2018 when the New Orleans Saints were at their apex. And then all of a sudden when they started flaking out, then all of a sudden, I'm backing away like Michael Jackson at the 25th Motown anniversary, moonwalking back. No, I'm still going to stand on business. I'm still going to be talking that trash. I'm still going to be laughing at Cowboy fans. I'm still going to be laughing at the Falcons when they fumble all over themselves. I mean, that ain't going to change. And I don't care, man. Y'all ain't winning nothing. Yeah, we sure ain't, but y'all ain't winning nothing either. So there it is. There it is. I used to hate them blackouts, be waiting all week, turn to Fox, and it's static. Yeah. Yeah, them blackouts used to be terrible, but would I have been what I am now if it wasn't for those blackouts? Probably not. Buddy D on 870 AM. Yes, sir. Yeah, Buddy Delaverto. Ray, he rest in peace. Definitely used to check out Buddy D, man. TJ, tell him stop putting me in timeout for speaking the truth. I didn't even hear what you said. I don't even know what the truth was, Stepper. But y'all make, man, hey, man. Y'all don't put my boy in timeout, man. Let him speak his mind. Let him speak his mind. It'll take a few more. Now I got to get up out of here, folks. Y'all know I have to pick up the Pac-Man every day. So Got to go ahead and cut this thing short so I can go pick my guy up. It says we need to understand rebuilding teams are getting blown out, not losing by one score. Yeah, I mean that's the positive thing about it. Juan, they're not getting blown out. I live in Texas, but I'm not a Cowgirls fan. Well, thank goodness for that. I said, excuse me, Keno. He says, never been to New Orleans, but still a Saints fan. Well, ain't nothing wrong with that, man. You know, I tell people all the time, like, the Saints, what bonded a lot of people together, especially since we, just passed the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. A lot of people left New Orleans, man, never went back, and the New Orleans Saints is like our connection to one another, regardless of where you live. You see somebody with a fleur-de-lis shirt on, a hat, you like, man, you're a Saints fan? And all of a sudden you find out they're from the area and you ended up like, oh, man, I stayed in this area right here. And the next thing you know, you have yourself a full-fledged conversation. It's pretty amazing to see, man. So, man, I ain't never going to lose that. I don't care how many games they lose. TJ, I hear you, though, as long as Mickey Loomis is in the office, just saying won't be good. He's the reason why they not good. Gail Benson needs to get rid of him some way, TJ. I agree. And I'm just wondering to myself, with the recent hire as a consultant of Dimitroff, the former general manager of the Falcons, are they grooming him to possibly replace Mickey Loomis? I mean, that's what I'm wondering, because maybe Mickey Loomis will feel more confident because of his relationship. They love relationships. Right? If I know you've been around for a long time, let's go ahead and give you a shot. That's how the New Orleans Saints work, right? I mean, it's on some Daddy Warbucks type stuff, right? I mean, let me put you in the wheel. Let me put you down as my successor. I mean, I don't know, man. Sometimes I just wish that the New Orleans Saints think outside the box sometimes. Now, they showed us that they could with the hiring of Kellen Moore. I just wish that they would do that even more when it comes to some of this decision making. I just think that comfortability, is the number one key for the New Orleans Saints. Not so much about the guy getting it done. I think it's about them being comfortable with who they have in there and maybe that person's personality. And sometimes you need somebody that's going to rattle some cages, that's going to be able to turn up. You get me? Sometimes you need that person, that's wired a little bit funny. And not a guy that you just, know that just straight shooter, button his shirt all the way up to the top sometimes, Sometimes you got to think outside the box to find success. I can tell you who is doing that. That is Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles. Like him or not, Howie Roseman, he watching some ball. Tank Bigsby went over 100 yards or was out there wrecking shop against the Carolina Panthers. Guess what he did, man? Let's go ahead and sign Tank Bigsby. You need another pass rusher, man. Let's go ahead and get Zadarius Smith. Just bringing people in. Don't even need them. You got Saquon Barkley on your football team. You got some very talented backups behind him, but you still up here trying to get Tank Bigsby. That is how you start winning football games, because you understand that injuries occur. You understand that you need depth. But you up here looking for the next Boy Scout of America, the guy who rescued a cat up a tree, or a guy that's around here shaking hands and kissing babies. I mean, great person. Would love to follow them on social media to see, them doing some amazing things. But when it comes to playing the game of football, do they have that dog mentality? And right now I'm questioning how many dogs you have on this football team right now. But long story short, my final thoughts as we put a wrap on week number 2, let's see if the Saints can actually build on some of the things that they did well. They did cut the penalties in half. If the Saints can play a solid game of football, I just wonder how that's going to turn out for them. Maybe in Seattle, maybe being away from the dome and expectations, of trying to win a game in the dome, maybe that'll be beneficial to them as they hit the road to go to Seattle. That is not going to be an easy game. But I think that they can go out there and be competitive, because we know if we know one thing about former offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak with the New Orleans Saints, adjustments. he cannot make. But thank you all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. I really do appreciate that. Much love to each and every one of you. I want to give a special shout out to everybody in the chat right now, making this show what it is. Thank you to those that donated to the show. Thank you to everyone that has subscribed to the State of the NFL podcast. We be having a good time over there, man. We're doing a live watch-alongs of primetime games, talking about some of the hottest topics in all of sports. Also, credit to those that check out the NFC South Roundtable every Tuesday. On tomorrow, I will be on the Seattle Seahawks podcast. I'm going to give you all the information. That's going to be tomorrow at 7 p.m. So if you stick around the State of the Saints podcast channel, I'll make sure that I go ahead and stream that as well, just like I did with the interview on the 49ers podcast with my guy Jesse. So we're going to be breaking down Saints versus Seattle Seahawks. So we got a busy week. We got plenty of shows that we're going to do. We got the Saints Minute that's going to be available. I'm going to go ahead and post that a little bit later in the day. But thank you all for supporting the State of the Saints podcast and me. And I will continue to work for the people because I am a man of the people. All right. Not the industry. I'm a man of the people, man. I appreciate all the love and support that you all give me each and every day. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
All I got to say is, who dat?